Hello people and welcome to another Carcassonne analysis video. This will be the fourth and final part of the 4 video series in which I will analyze all of my semi-final games and all of my grand final games of the MSO Carcassonne Grand Prix 2024. The game we are going to analyze today is my second grand final game against the strong Latvian master Krišs Kaukis with the screen name Krisna. This time Krisna is the starting player and he starts off by taking a 2-point city. We get a triple city with a road, and although we could attack Krisna's city, we do not want to leave any empty quick point features on the board at the very start of the game when there are no features on the board almost at all. Instead, we use this tile as a road end, and I am not afraid to use it as a road end, because since it is a triple city, I have no doubt that I will be able to attack Krishna's city later on. Krishna doesn't have many options with a straight road. They decide to attack my 2-point road, and although in general 2-point roads are not worth attacking too, in this case it is an exception because there are no features on the board, so there are no roads for Krishna to take. We get the quad crossroad, and since we only have 2 spots to place this tile to, we of course place it where it benefits us more, which is ending our own road and leaving our opponent with a 2-point road. Krishna ends his own road, starts a new city, and also indirectly protects this square, since it is now more difficult for me to place anything over here and try to harass Krishna's city on this square. We get the first monastery of the game, only 2 spots to place it to, and we decide to place it at the bottom because now we can use both road tiles and city tiles to surround our monastery instead of only road tiles had we decided to place it over here. Krishna starts yet another city, and whilst this may look excessive, it is a very important and effective tactic to use. Because now Krishna is able to use all types of city tiles effectively. Imagine that Krishna just took 4 points by completing this city. Now, whilst he would still have a great use for triple cities and triangles, and for most city caps by starting new cities from anywhere, he would not have a great use for extenders. Whereas now he can use any type of city tile very effectively. As a result of Krishna starting his third city, he did create a possibility for us to go for a 5-point road. Krishna goes for his first monastery. And we finally get to start a city of our own. And whilst we could have placed the dagger over here and meeple this city, it would leave an attacking spot for red to place another meeple to here and try to overrun the whole feature, which is not what we want. If we are ever going to meeple this city, we want to do it with a triple city or with a triangle, because those tiles do not leave a great attacking spot for my opponent to try and overrun the city. Krishna starts a blocking attempt, seeing that two of the daggers with a right-hand side curve are already out, and if they can limit this square to the final dagger, then they have a 50-50 chance at blocking two of my meeples to just 9 points without even having to do additional blocking at the top. Now, whilst it is a great idea in theory, the reason you should not be too eager in blocking at the early stages of the game is because blocking at the early stages of the game really rarely works out. As we can see, we immediately get a tile that saves both of our features. We also meeple the 1-point road on the left, just so that we can prevent my opponent from getting a regular curve going over here and having a easy 5-point road. Krishna gets a wonderful tile, a field crossroad, and now has a bit of a dilemma on where to take points from exactly. They could take 3 points from here and intercept my 5-point road. They could take 3 points from here and make sure that I cannot get such a wonderful use out of regular curves by making a 5-point road over here. Or they can take 3 points from here and limit this square to the final remaining dagger and hope to get a divider tile themselves so that they will not be drawn into this same troublesome square with their city. They decide to go with the third option and try to get my monastery blocked. Now, I am not worried about my monastery being blocked at all, since in the worst case scenario it is going to be 8 points at the end of the game. And I can also possibly try blocking this square to a city plus road tile so that I will be forcing Krishna into this square with his city as well. This is also exactly what I start to do. In ideal case, we would be getting a crossroad, take 3 points from here, and then limit this square to a city plus road tile, which does exactly what I mentioned just a second ago. It would force Krishna to go to this square with his city. We also create additional danger spots for Krishna, as we are now threatening to start blocking this square if we get a city plus road tile on our next move, and then finish our city or just continue it to the right. Krishna is therefore forced to defend, adds 2 points to himself, 1 point to his city, and 1 point to his monastery. We now have a bit of a tricky tile in our hands, since of course we want to use this tube divider as a city tile, but every single spot that we can place this tile to can cause harm to ourselves one way or another. If we place it here, it is going to be very uncomfortable for us to start a city, plus it will leave an empty city cap for my opponent. This is of course out of the question, since this only really completes our opponent's city. Both of these squares surround our opponent's monastery and leave an empty city cap for our opponent to further complete his monastery and get 4 points, as does this square, although from here we could potentially try to attack this shared feature, but it is only at the moment worth 3 points, which is not nearly enough for me to invest second meeple on it. And we would also be surrounding my opponent's monastery whenever we get a connection tile over here. If we go over here, then sure, we can start a city at a reasonably safe spot, but the other city cap will immediately provide a option for Krishna to block my monastery for good and still leave a possibility for Krishna himself to get a divider, go over here and get his own meeple out. So given all this, we go with the final remaining option, and we start a new city. Now what this move does is we of course are now able to start a city of our own and not leave an empty city cap for our opponent to take. We do endanger our monastery to a potential immediate block, but since we only have a 50-50 chance of getting the final remaining dagger, I am not worried that this monastery gets blocked. But most importantly, this move creates another platform for us to place a road tile over here and force Krishna to find a city plus road tile to this square and extend his city downwards, which would also take away the option for Krishna to use a divider over here and get his meeple back, get 6 points, and potentially only leave my monastery with 8 points with no real compensation. Well, Krishna gets the best possible tile for themselves. There is no doubt that they are going to place it over here. The only question that they need to ask from themselves is whether to meeple this city or not. If they do not meeple the city, they will run a risk of me getting the final remaining dagger, going over here, getting full 10 points of this city and get my meeple back from the monastery. If they do meeple this city, then they are going to be running a risk of getting this square blocked and then being in a losing mini battle of 4 points to 8. They decide not to meeple the city, which I think is a small mistake. Of course, there is always the upside that they are going to be able to block the square and leave my monastery to just 8 points with no compensation. But the possibility for me to get the final remaining dagger is just such a dangerous one that I don't think Krishna should take that chance. But he does so anyway, and we do not get the dagger. And since we only have 2 meeples in hand, I would very much like to increase that number, especially when we cannot make a semi-save on this square, and our monastery is likely getting blocked. Which is why we just complete our 2-point road and take a meeple back. Krishna blocks our monastery and also threatens to block our city as well if he manages to get some triangles as his next move. So we immediately need to take care of that threat and finish our city. Krishna starts yet another city and surrounds his monastery. And we start another city of our own. A harumpus on the making, meaning a city built up with 4 triangles. We now have a couple of options. We could go over here and limit Krishna's monastery to a dagger, but since there are still 2 daggers with a left-hand side curve in the deck, this block does not feel like it would be too dangerous. I would rather try and limit Krishna's monastery to the final remaining starting tile, and so I would rather just wait until I get any road tile, then go over here and then create the threat of limiting Krishna's monastery to that said starting tile from here. Also, if we would go over here with the triple city, then we would also endanger our 1-point city meeple to be left as a 1-point city meeple in a losing mini battle if Krishna decides to start blocking that connection over here and then later over here and over here. Which is why I decided to do something more annoying for Krishna, and I decided to start breaking his city. Red adds 1 point to their monastery. We complete our 4-point city and start a new one. Red completes his city as well, and also now there is an important note to be made, and that is that Krishna just used the final remaining starting tile. There are no more starting tiles in the deck, and this is very important because now all the possibilities of limiting a square to a starting tile increase the risk of blocking tremendously. So now our goal is to limit this square, for example, to a starting tile, and also to save our road from being blocked to that same starting tile. Which is what we do immediately. Now Krishna could do sort of a natural move like this, just adding 1 point to his monastery and prepare to release the monastery meeple. But since he is now at -4 points, and we are equal in meeples, at least for now, because we both have a meeple in a monastery. They decide to do something a bit more radical, and they start a field. This move leaves an evil hamster spot, or a road monastery spot, but this road monastery spot will benefit red more than it benefits me, because red is in control of the field. And whoever places the road monastery over here will bring an extra city to the said field. Now we could do a number of things with the divider. We could finish our 4-point city and start a new one. We could also come to the field and prepare to get the road monastery and score the points from it and not worry about increasing the size of the field. Or we could go over here, and since all the starting tiles are out, we could try blocking this monastery for good. And I decided that since we have an 8-point monastery trapped ourselves, then we could try evening out the situation and block Krishna's monastery as well. Krishna scores 3 points and brings one more city to his field, and also now completes the evil hamster spot. Which we very fortunately immediately get. Red takes a 3-point road, but this move has a much more important purpose, and that is to prevent me from completing this 4-point city and dropping a farmer. With 3 meeples and a monastery in hand, I definitely want to take advantage of that monastery, and we drop it to the only 5-point spot. Now Krishna has a lot of options here. Number 1 is to just take 4 points from this road. Number 2 is to take 4 points from this city and protect this square. Number 3 is to immediately complete his monastery. And number 4 is to end his road and direct the city cap to either upwards or to the right and try to start blocking my city. Krishna makes the move that I was afraid the most, just takes 4 points and saves this square. Now we have a city cap in hand, and we have 2 1-point cities that we could complete. And whilst this city is more restricted, I do not want to complete it just yet, because I want to try and make a spot for myself to attack this field. So I want to wait until I get a field triangle or an extender, and then try to get another city cap and finish the city and drop a farmer. So instead, we will just finish the city at the north. Krishna starts a city of his own on his field. And we create a threat to block Krishna's monastery because all of the 3 city crossroads are out. So even though this square looks very safe, it really isn't anymore. Because with any road tile, we can just stick it in here and block this monastery. And now in this situation, Krishna has to really battle his inner demons because he has a quick point tile and has a lot of different options to take quick points from. 3 points over here, 4 points over here, but also making a possibility for me to attack the field, end his road. But he decides to do none of these things. He decides that this monastery is something that he wants to get back, and he wants to protect this square. And the only way to protect that square is going to be doing this. Gives 1 point to me, but since there are no starting tiles remaining, anything that goes here cannot block this square for good. These types of situations are exactly the ones that show how much experienced players are ready to sacrifice points in order to save meeples. And in this scenario, Krishna deemed that sacrificing 5 points is worth to get this meeple back. Because he did not take a 4-point road and instead ended up giving 1 point to me. And in exchange, he got an unblockable spot to finish this monastery. Now we get another chance to finish this 4-point city, and now we will do that since it is in a very precarious situation because anything can come over here and we might not end up with a finished city at all later on. And as of right now, if we do a little point calculation, we can see that I am 17 points ahead on the scoreboard with 3 extra meeples. We both have an 8-point monastery. I have a 5-point monastery, which puts me at plus 22. This ruin will put me at plus 18. This road plus 15, a 1-point city plus 14, and a 12-point field to plus 2. So at the moment we are plus 2 points and we have 3 meeples more, which is a really good situation. Krishna gets 3 quick points. And now we get to do a very devastating move for Krishna, because Krishna only has 1 meeple in hand, and he doesn't have all that many places that he can get meeples back from very easily. Because all triple cities are gone, 7 crossroads are gone, and 1 road monastery is gone. So the only situation where Krishna sees this road meeple back is if he manages to take the second road monastery or the final remaining crossroad. And then he also has this 8-point monastery, which he can get the meeple back from, and of course this 1-point city. But since we are now going to do this, it severely limits the amount of tiles that Krishna can get a meeple back with. Now Krishna manages to get his road meeple back by getting the second road monastery, but this comes at a cost, because before this move, this 12-point field was almost entirely secure, except from this spot and this spot, which I could use to attack it, but I would have to add points to Krishna, which is not ideal. But now, since Krishna expanded his field, there is now a huge opportunity for me to attack this field from here. And since we are 2 meeples ahead, we definitely have the possibilities to fight for this field. But the thing is that we are now only at -4 and we have 2 extra meeples. So we don't necessarily even have to attack the field at any point. 1 meeple can easily be worth 4 points. And since we have 2 meeples extra, I am not worried about attacking this field, at least just yet. But we don't have too much great stuff we could do with an extender. So since I do not want to attack the field just yet, I'm just going to add 1 point to my monastery on the left. Now with a field triangle, Krishna has actually a lot of options. Option 1, go over here, add 1 point to your ruin. Quite weak if you ask me, but it's doable. Option 2, over here, add 2 points to your ruin, but also add 1 point to my monastery, which would arguably be even worse than this, because it would allow me to get a chance to actually complete this monastery in the near future. Option 3, go over here and threaten to actually complete this large city at some point. Option 4, which I think is the second best move, is to go here and block the access to the field. And option 5, which I think is the best move, go over here and make sure that you have 4 triangles over here to finish your monastery and to complete another castle on your field now that your field expands all the way through. Krishna decides to add 1 point to the city on the right. And now with a second extender, there is a argument that I could just place it over here and add 1 point again to my monastery. But since there are still tiles that go here, I would be potentially giving 2 points to Krishna's ruin, which I don't really want to do. And if I want to get this monastery back, I might have to be the one who actually gives all these points to Krishna, which I definitely don't want to do. So instead, because I don't think there is really any other options to use extenders to, at least very good ones of those, I decide to finally attack the field. Krishna now finally finishes his monastery and gets the meeple back. I was, however, quite surprised that he did not meeple the 6-point field, since in the worst case it is, 6 points, and it can be made so that it creates a loop and also will include this part, and then even eventually try to sneak into the main field through these squares. It would be somewhat unlikely, but it would be a major threat which I would have to deal with somehow. And also in the worst case scenario, it's a 6-point field. Like you're already placing a field meeple to where there are already points available. We now get a field triangle of our own, and I have a few ideas for this. Option number one is to simply connect to the field and not leave any possible options for Krishna to then drop a farmer over here and connect with a second farmer immediately after. He would have to drop a second farmer here, which would be arguably at least slightly riskier, although there are still a lot of regular curves and straight lines remaining. Option number two is to go over here. Have at least a 4-point city, because I have 3 meeples, but there is also one triple city with a field remaining, which could go over here, and I could then try to steal this whole city. The downside of that move is that this spot would not be free from attacks or from harassment, as I like to say, because there is only one city cap with road to the left. And if Krishna goes with a curve over here, it will severely restrict my chances to ever actually finish this city. And also, since it is only a 50-50 shot at getting the triple city, I don't really want to make this move because I don't feel like I need to do such risk. So instead, we just connect ourselves to the field. Oh, and credit where credit is due. I did actually, during this game, miss completely one great idea with this field triangle, which was to go over here, finish the city and drop a farmer, and then try to connect to the main field through a vanilla city cap. I think this would have been a marvelous move, but unfortunately I did, like I said, miss that during the game. Krishna, now with 3 meeples in hand, will meeple another monastery. And now it is worthwhile to mention that we are at +1 point and we have a meeple advantage by 1 meeple, so we are still in a very good position. Now here we could do a number of moves. We could go over here and start a city, but again, because there is only one city cap with a road to the left, then I did not want to make this move because I thought that it would be too easy to block. We could also start a city from here or from here, but those would present the same issue. They would be too easy to block. So I decided to go with another move which I thought had humongous potential. And I do take a city, but I take it from above. The reason is that there are still two vanilla city caps that go here, which I can use to immediately finish an 8-point city. But there is also one field triangle that goes over here and one triple city with a field. So if I get those both, I would be able to steal the city, and then unlike on previous time, now this above square is already secured. So I would be actually able to finish the city. And since I have 4 tiles that I can use to these squares, doesn't matter in which order they come from, as soon as I get one of those, I will use it. Of course, with the exception that if Krishna draws either the field triangle or the triple city before I get either one of those, then of course I will not try to steal this city anymore, because my peoples would be simply trapped. Another wonderful move by Krishna, recognizing that there are indeed enough tiles to finish my city, and also the final remaining field triangle to go here, so that there is potential for Krishna to actually eventually bring his second farmer to the main field in case I draw a vanilla city cap early. And he also creates a 4-point loop over here, which will instantly get these 6 points to the northern field, and so the northern field would be worth points as well, even if he would not be able to connect to the main field. And since there is a number of regular curves remaining, I will instantly take those 4 points. Although I could have also arguably gone over here, drop a farmer on this 6-point field, and then try to finish this loop later on, thus getting myself also to this northern field. Krishna just adds 7 points to himself and takes the first vanilla city cap. We do, however, get the triple city and now create a massive threat to finish a large city and get a boatload of points. Krishna makes it a bit harder for me to get an additional point to my monastery, but I am not interested too much of this monastery anymore, since the only tile that goes here is the field triangle, which I now need over here. We do now get the final remaining vanilla city cap, which we could have used over here just one move earlier, but now it is no longer, of course, possible. And so, realizing that this northern field is now already 9 points, we are going to attack that field because there are not too many city caps anymore even remaining, so it doesn't make too much sense to start a new city. Krishna adds 3 points to himself. Now, assuming that we are able to connect to this northern field, we are +1 with equal meeples. But Krishna has a rather large city which can be completed, and he also has a monastery which he can get a meeple back from. Whereas we really have only one tile that works for us, and that is the filled triangle. Now, if we get that tile, we will almost certainly win the game. But otherwise, our point scoring opportunities are very limited. So we kind of have to start harassing Krishna's city so that he will not be able to even threaten the completion of it. And now, although this road triangle would very neatly fit into here and would give Krishna 2 points and put him in a +1 lead, there is another extremely powerful move that Krishna found. Taking into account that there are still 4 regular curves remaining, Krishna went over here and dropped a farmer. Now, given the number of regular curves remaining, I cannot ignore this threat, because with just one of those curves, Krishna will get 13 points and a meeple back. And if we do not draw the filled triangle, we will likely lose the game. Therefore, we have to try and prevent that threat and block the monastery. And the rotation of this curve is very important, because although most of the tiles remaining are road tiles, which can save Krishna's monastery, there are exactly 3 regular curves left in the deck, 3 regular straight roads left in the deck, 1 filled triangle, 1 tube divider, 1 dagger with a right-hand side curve, and 2 road triangles. We cannot turn this curve so that the road would be facing left, because although there would be a bigger chance for us to block the monastery, it would not be a bigger chance for us to actually prevent the field connection from Krishna. Because if Krishna draws a straight regular road, they can add it to the curve and then have the chance to join the field via road triangle. Instead, we will turn it like this, so that we will have all the regular curves and the tube divider in our disposal to block this monastery and to block the field connection. However, this plan relies on Krishna drawing one of the tiles that he cannot save the connection with, which would be the tube divider, one of the 2 road triangles, or the field triangle. Now, those are quite slim chances, but I think that was indeed my best chance to win this game and to negate this huge threat that Krishna made. Well, Krishna does not draw any of those tiles that I need him to draw. He draws a straight regular road and saves the connection. Now, because there are still 3 regular curves remaining, there is a 12.5% chance that I would draw all three of those curves. However, that's not good enough. I cannot rely on winning the situation 1 out of 8 times. It will not work in very much most of the scenarios. Which is why I have to put my faith on a 50-50 coin toss with the filled triangle, hope to get that, and finish this huge castle. And with this regular straight road, I have to place a farmer so that when Krishna draws the regular curve, I will also get a second meeple to the field. Krishna immediately draws one of those curves, gets a meeple back and is now +3. Still provided that we would actually connect to this northern field, because without the field we will be at -9. But since we are putting all of our faith into finishing this large city and making a +12 point move, again provided that we are also on the northern field, it does not matter all that much how far behind we are in points as of right now, as long as this 12 point move is enough to win. Now with the tube divider, I didn't really see all that much use for it, although I was very wrong about that. I think the best possible move that I could have made, which was also suggested on Alexei's stream, who streamed the MSO, is that I could go over here and completely prevent Krishna from completing this city. Instead, I just dumped this tile at the bottom. Krishna just calmly adds 1 point to his city. And here we made another mistake, a huge mistake. I knew there was a city cap with a road remaining, being the final remaining dagger. But I, for some reason, thought that that dagger came with a curve to the left, not to the right. Which is why, also under time pressure, I did not block Krishna's city from completion. And instead, I just added 1 point to my monastery. As a result, Krishna is able to make a game-winning move which guarantees the win for him, no matter what I draw. Krishna gets the dagger, places it to his city, and drops a farmer. Because the remaining tiles are 2 regular curves, a filled triangle and a road triangle, Krishna will be able to make a massive impact move no matter what he gets. With both regular curves, Krishna can go here and overrun the field. And of course with both triangles, Krishna can just finish his city. And at this point, since we haven't even connected to the northern field, we are at -10 and we are just simply too far behind to win this game, even if we would be finishing this large city, which we don't seem to be able to do because we get a regular curve. So we just add 6 points getting ourselves to the northern field. We are now at -4. Krishna gets the field triangle, finishes his city, gets a boatload of points, plus 3 points for this farmer. We do get the final remaining regular curve, so that guarantees that Krishna will not be overrunning this main field, but it doesn't matter because we are so much behind. We can just chuck this anywhere, and Krishna still takes the 6-point road. And as the points are now counted, you can see that I lost by a large margin of 25 points. But I gotta say, I don't think I made too many mistakes here, except for this one huge mistake with the field crossroad, which I did not place over here to prevent the completion of Krishna's city and to prevent the massive impact move of Krishna guaranteeing 100% chance for a win. But other than that, I still think that I would play almost exactly the same. I hope you enjoyed this analysis. Do let me know in the comments if you did. And I will see you again with some more Carcassonne content. Bye for now.